Hello and welcome to a slightly late episode of a weekly Waypoint. I do apologise, I completely forgot it was Monday, but can you blame me with everything that is currently going on in the video game world? This is RuneScape free, and if I have time it'll be one of the topics we're talking about today, but I'm just doing some dungeoneering. I thought, what am I going to record today? I know, I can record some dungeoneering in good old RuneScape free. I say good old RuneScape free, but the community sentiment toward the game is very much the opposite of that right now. Anyway, viewer, since we last spoke, if we did last speak a week ago, because that video, I'm just going to bring it up. I don't know what it is about Unreal Tournament 99. I like to think of it as a mainstay of the weekly Waypoint series, but I feel like every time I do a video in Unreal Tournament, it gets way less views. I don't know, I try different things with the thumbnails, but I think people just see old game and go, nah, maybe they've seen a weekly Waypoint before and they find it unappealing that I play against bots, or maybe it just doesn't catch their eyes, they're scrolling past. I think I'm going to have to retire Unreal Tournament from the weekly Waypoint router, which is a shame because I really bloody like that game. Anyway, Starfield. Let's talk about Starfield. There will be no spoilers because I'm aware that I am privileged enough to have the early access version of the game, and there are still many people who want to play the game, but this is just going to be my general impressions. Think of it as a non-spoiler review, if you like, the kind you'd normally read, maybe, if you're interested in that kind of thing before games come out. And Starfield is an interesting game to talk about. It has received some 10 out of 10s and some 7 out of 10s. We all talk about IGN, but it was also a few other gaming outlets, like I believe PC Gamer and maybe Game Informer, and obviously this is like, everything is subjective as much as game journalists try and put things into objective categories, and judging a game by its review score or getting angry at a gaming outlet for its review score are both just fool's errands. But for a few hours there before early access was granted, the review scores were all we had to go on, and I was a little concerned because I knew when the embargo was up I was like, okay, I know this game's probably going to be a banger, but let's see what the reviewers think about it. And I just kind of by default went to IGN. I don't really consume IGN content, but it was the first reviewer I thought of, and they had 7 out of 10, and I went, oh no. And then I was like, PC Gamer, I used to get PC Gamer magazines, and I was like, I'll go look at what they say, and they said 7 out of 10, and I went, oh no. But as stated previously, trying to gauge whether a video game is going to be fun for you purely based on a arbitrary number given by someone you don't know online is a fool's errand, and I fucking love Starfield. It's not perfect, and some of the things that make it great also in the same turn lose some of the enamor of a game like Skyrim. I just watched a video where some guy was talking about the benefits of not fast traveling in Skyrim, and I think I've seen videos like this before, and it wasn't really like a ranty video. It was just like, I just decided not to do it, and I had a really bloody good time with it because of all the things you run into, even though, and you know, there's still like loads of random encounters in Starfield, and I do believe that we could be playing with this game for like literally a decade with how much content is in it. That's the impression I get from my first 15 hours in the game. However, it will be for different reasons than it will be for Skyrim. Like, you can't land on a planet and expect Skyrim and then land on another planet and expect another Skyrim. If you view the entirety of the settled systems as more like the Skyrim, it's more Mass Effect than No Man's Sky in terms of visiting planets, although I've only played the first game and the first half of the second. And I'm completely fine with this, but I think some people were expecting something different. But what I really wanted was a Bethesda RPG that wasn't Fallout, because while I have played Fallout and think it is an objectively good series, I just subjectively do not enjoy bleak post-apocalyptic environments, and therefore can't really get into those games. I've tried several times and will probably continue to try several times if I know anything about my psyche. So I've only ever really had the Elder Scrolls for Bethesda RPGs, and I know I love Bethesda RPGs. I love Oblivion and I love Skyrim, so I was really hoping that Starfield would be a Bethesda ass RPG that I could enjoy, because we're not getting the Elder Scrolls 6 for a fucking while still. And Starfield is a Bethesda RPG that I can really enjoy. It is all the parts of Fallout that I like, without any of the bleak themes that drive me away from it. And so far I've only really done I don't even know how long the main quest line is, but I've done, I would say, about 3 or 4 constellation quests, and they're really fun so far. The cast of characters you meet are really fun. I really like Sarah. I really like Barrett. I'm curious about Andreja. I don't quite remember how her name is pronounced. But yeah, the cast of characters is great, and I've still got way more to learn about them. I've also dipped my toe into starting the Freestar Ranger stuff. I think that's what they're called. Is it Freestar? I really like how with United Colonies you've got this like utopian Star Trek kind of a aesthetic, and then with the Freestar Collective, I think that's what they're called. They're like more like space cowboys, and I haven't got to Neon yet, but I know that's going to be more cyberpunk. And while I had my doubts about the overall NASA punk aesthetic of the sci-fi like spaceships and weapons and stuff, I do really love it as well. Now there have been a couple times that I've wandered like the randomly generated landscapes and found myself a little bored, but there's also been times where I've wandered those randomly generated landscapes and found some just interesting things to explore. I don't think it's a perfect system, and I don't think it will keep me occupied forever, but I do think there's plenty to see and do there, and it provides a lovely kind of extra activity aside from the usual Bethesda RPG stuff. I've just started Outpost building, and it's pretty simplistic. I don't know if everyone's going to agree on that, but like in terms of setting up powering things, and getting storage for it, it's a lot more simplistic than something like No Man's Sky, and I appreciate it for that because I've never enjoyed dealing with setting up power in No Man's Sky, especially since they updated it. I think they made it worse. The shooting, the combat, I think is fun. I don't think it's the most revolutionary combat in the world. I think something like Destiny 2 is far more fun, and I think it's sorely lacking in enemy variety. However, the guns feel good to shoot, and I generally enjoy engaging in combat. If you want to see more of my experiences with the first, I think it was like the first 13 and a half hours of the game, I haven't played much more since, there is an Adventures in Starfield video available on this channel for you to go and see. But if that video didn't necessarily get across how I was feeling about the game so far, you got this instead. I know everyone's still obsessed with Baldur's Gate 3, and I do really like Baldur's Gate 3, but I think the kind of more open world immersive anything can happen you're exploring RPG that Bethesda tends to make is probably more my cup of tea. And there's just so much Starfield ahead of me, and I'm excited because I've got a week off, and I'm just gonna play the shit. Actually, you know what, I'm gonna play as much of it as I feel like playing, and then if I get distracted, I'm gonna let myself get distracted. My new approach to gaming, it's still in practice, because Starfield is a new game that has come out this week that I have, or the early access has come out this week, that I have been playing, and is new, and is very relevant, and is very topical. But you know what isn't very relevant or topical? Actually, it kind of is, because it just got a new expansion. Guild Wars 2! Look who finally dipped his toe into Guild Wars 2. Obviously, anyone who's seen this channel knows that I love the MMORPG genre. It is my favourite genre in all of video games. As I am recording this, I am currently AFKing woodcutting in RuneScape 3. But Guild Wars 2, I have never dipped my toe into. I consider it the last major popular MMORPG that I have not dipped my toes into. I play WoW, I play Final Fantasy XIV, I play RuneScape, I play Elder Scrolls Online, and there's some like less popular ones. I play Star Wars The Old Republic, I've played some Neverwinter. I have not played Guild Wars 2, and as I am playing it, I have so many thoughts about it, and you will get them in real time when I actually make Adventures in Interior Volume 1 about it one day, but I want to kind of get them out here on this weekly Waypoint as well. Now, I've played some Dragonflight. I haven't played much of the latest patch, or the latest major patch even, but I have played some Dragonflight, and I knew that they had taken dragon riding from Guild Wars 2. What I did not know is just how many modern World of Warcraft systems, in specifically Dragonflight systems, or not just systems, but like world design and stuff, that they have also kind of taken from Guild Wars 2, to the point where I think it's a little bit shameless, and I should have probably been playing Guild Wars 2 from a lot longer ago. Like, okay, maybe it's not shameless because these are things that very much benefited World of Warcraft, and maybe World of Warcraft, one of its failures in the past was being too stubborn to acknowledge other MMOs and their innovations in the space in the past. However, I don't know, I'm in the early game of Guild Wars 2 right now, and there are so many things that I am seeing that make me go, oh, this is in Dragonflight, or this was in an earlier World of Warcraft expansion, but this did it earlier, and this does it better. I'm very much in the honeymoon period with Guild Wars 2, so I'm probably going to have very different opinions on this a year from now. But when I played Final Fantasy XIV, I thought this was the game that World of Warcraft should be competing with, and now that I'm playing Guild Wars 2, I see that this is the game that World of Warcraft is competing with. Final Fantasy XIV has fantastic gameplay. I love its class system. It doesn't get talked about enough. Its trial system, it's the gameplay, like not just the story, but the gameplay of 14 is fantastic, and it does its own things, and it is innovative in its own way. But Guild Wars 2 kind of feels like, if Final Fantasy XIV is the one that does better story than WoW, then it feels like Guild Wars 2 might be the one that does better gameplay than WoW. These are just my early impressions. They are subject to change. But yeah, for anyone wondering, I rolled what am I called? A Sylvari. I rolled a Sylvari Mesmer, and I'm currently level 27 or so, and I'm having a wonderful time. I haven't bought any of the expansions yet, but I can easily see myself doing so. I am currently still going through what seems to be like the Sylvari racial storyline, and I won't lie, it's not like incredible. The writing certainly isn't. The writing is definitely like average at best. Like, it's interesting enough, especially the personal story stuff. I like that. That's the closest it's really got to an MSQ. I wish there was a little bit more of that. The open world heart stuff is a really fun way of kind of prompting exploration and getting in touch with the world, and not overflowing the player with too much irrelevant tidbits of short story out in the world, because it's kind of in a tooltip what's going on. However, it does get quite repetitive if you just grind an entire map worth of those. The combat isn't my favourite, but it's serviceable, it's fine. It does interesting things with giving you abilities based on your weapons and stuff. But in terms of how it feels to press the buttons and kill the enemies, I would say, out of like the most popular MMOs, I would say you've got Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft at the top. Then I would say you've got Guild Wars. Then I would say you've got ESO and RuneScape at the bottom. To be fair, I don't know if I can really call RuneScape free one of the most popular MMOs, because it's kind of split in half, and I think I have a lot of player plays this game bias towards that, but you know, that's a footnote. But yeah, stay tuned for an Adventures Interior video sometime, and more ruminations on Guild Wars 2. I'm really excited to get to the end game storytelling stuff. In RuneScape news, they've just released the Hero Pass, which is their third attempt at a Battle Pass system, because lots of people are talking about it, but they're talking about it in relation to Yak Track, and no one's brought up Rune Pass. Rune Pass was a thing, right? I'm not fever dreaming this. Yeah, okay, I just looked it up. Rune Pass was a thing, so this is their third attempt. I liked the Yak Tracks, but here's the thing. Everyone fucking hates Rune Pass. The community is up in arms about it for various reasons. But if you don't know anything about RuneScape, I'll try and give you a very brief overview as to why everyone hates the idea of a battle pass in this particular game. RuneScape is a game that suffers from having way too many microtransactions, from having a very greedy, I guess, shareholder board, and a, I want to say that the devs are very open and transparent, and you get the impression that they really do care, but they also have a microtransaction side, and it's a constant dichotomy of, you get an update like Necromancy, which is really gameplay focused and really fun and amazing, and so much love has been poured into it, and there's so much cool story, and it's a genuinely amazing game, and then you get an update like Hero Pass, and it's money, and give us money at the expense of the sanctity of the balance of the video game itself. If you're wondering why old school RuneScape is a thing, and why half of the player base of RuneScape play that game instead, this is the reason. RuneScape has a subscription, and on top of that it has loot crates, and on top of that it has a battle pass. The loot crates are pay to win. This new battle pass is pay to win. The reason I play an Iron Man isn't because I love the challenge of not being able to trade with other people, although it does make everything feel far more rewarding when you do it yourself. It's because you can't access Treasure Hunter on it, and Treasure Hunter, in my opinion, I don't want to undermine like people's main accounts, but Treasure Hunter really, really does make the game trivial, or a lot more trivial than it used to be in any case. There's a ton of amazing content in this game, and it just gets diluted by microtransactions at every opportunity, and it's a bummer. So that's why I play an Iron Man, because otherwise I wouldn't be playing this game at all anymore. Now, with this new hero pass, you get buffs, which means, you know, like, you get damage reduction at bosses, at like endgame bosses, and you get that by unlocking a temporary seasonal buff in the hero pass, and you can buy skips to get towards it faster. So you can literally buy a damage reduction at endgame, and it's not like these are seasonal servers or anything like that. This is a permanent buff. Well, a temporary permanent buff, I guess, for your account. Like, you will always have benefited from it. This is not the first instance of pay to win in this game, but is the most recent, most egregious one. Luckily, Iron Men do not have access to these buffs. Saw someone complaining on a subreddit today because Hero Pass is terrible for Iron Men. It replaces a daily reward system, which used to give us a decent amount of XP for doing content, and a smattering of items which we would not otherwise be able to get, such as Death Touch darts and D&D distraction and diversion skip tokens, or reset tokens, I mean. Stuff the main player base gets from Treasure Hunter, but we have no way of paying to get these, and we just get them. I have a slightly unpopular take on this, though. I think that while it's always gonna suck having something taken away from you, the free XP was a bit much, and a lot of these things, like, at the heart of it, we're Iron Men, or Iron Women, or Irons, and it's supposed to kind of be a challenge, and we're not really supposed to benefit from too many of these gameplay items, but we did have them, and they have been taken away from us, and that sucks, especially when the main player base, it's not like, oh, we're nerfing Iron Men because we want to keep the gameplay in balance, because the buffs that the main player base are getting clearly indicates that they don't give a shit about balancing this game in terms of rewards and XP. Here's the other thing that's not so much of a popular opinion that I have about the Hero Pass. There are elements about it that I really like the cosmetics. Most of the people complaining about the Hero Pass right now are screaming that they don't care about cosmetics. I do. I think it's a really fun thing to work towards. I really like Outfitscape. I'm sorry, I do. In the past, I have actually said it would be nice if we got a version of Treasure Hunter which just had the cosmetics and didn't have any gameplay bonuses. That would still be loot boxes, so I'm kind of getting a little bit of Stockholm syndrome there, but I have bought Treasure Hunter keys in the past, but I wouldn't buy them now. What I don't like about the Rune Pass, the Hero Pass, also Hero Pass is such a fucking generic name, you should have kept Yak Track. What I don't like about it is it's very much dailyscape. Like, they've mentioned that they want to cut back on dailies, and this is very much like they've made dailies take longer to complete, and they're fairly vital at getting a decent amount of the progression towards the battle pass, and that's lame. But most Iron Men are angry that we've got a massive nerf to our XP, and I do hope they address it, because clearly my opinion is the unpopular one here, so they shouldn't listen to me. They should listen to most of the people who play their game. But I have mixed feelings about this, but my mixed feelings are a lot more positive than most people's feelings, it feels like. But I do remain one of potentially the few people who is excited to progress this Hero Pass and unlock the things that it has on offer. Oh, and one last point of clarification, it's not really a traditional battle pass in that you buy the pass. It's more like if you're a Premier member, which is the members who pay for their membership yearly, you have free access to it, which I already did before they announced any of this. But that is a pretty expensive jumping on point. I think you can also buy the premium track for bonds, but I'm not actually that sure about that. Anyway, there you go. There's my thoughts on yet another MMO being continually corrupted by the perversion of what people enjoy about these games, which is the acquisition of awards. One last thing before we go, if I can sneak it in, I've started reading the X-Men comics, House of X, Powers of 10, and it's fucking incredible. I'm like 4 issues in so far. Anyway, thank you, bye.